Have you dealt with anxiety in your life?
Oh yeah, well, but anxiety from outside sources. Most of my anxiety, I finally realized that and now that I can look back on my life and with a a little more perspective, most of my problems, in fact, all of my problems and anxiety had to do with me being trusting and having people who I thought I could trust not be truthful and not be honest. That has been the source of all my issues. Um, I try to be a nice person. I try to I try to treat people fairly. I try to be as honest as I can. In a really dishonest business.
Yeah.
If you know anything, I mean, obviously you're in the
Yeah.
entertainment business. It's a shit show.
Yeah.
So, but that's where my issues are. My issues are trusting people and having them stab you in the back, and having them not be who you were hoping they would be, or at least giving you the courtesy of being straightforward. That's a big issue for me.
Yeah, I understand that. It's the worst business to be in when you're looking for that, because I come from humble origin where, I grew up in a small town, and I come out here and you want to believe everybody. You want to think that everybody has your best interest. Well, they all never have your best interest. It's what's for me. How do I benefit from this person? And, in your lifetime, if you meet a handful of people that you could really trust and know it's unconditional, the love and the, reciprocation, you win. But you have to weed out. A lot of times you have to go through those things, as you know more than I do. What was the hardest time in your life, really the end of the 80s, sort of like reinventing yourself, going through a divorce? What was it how empty or how low did you actually get? Because I know you talk about mental health, but how desperate did you become?
Well, I talk about it in my book. I have an autobiography called Change of Seasons. And I talk about it in the book. I describe it. Yeah, there was an issue. There was an issue with some money and things like that. And it was kind of I had, and I'll just say it again. I'd been called down to a meeting on Wall Street with some money managers who, here again, I had been trusting for years. And I found out that I didn't have what I thought I had. And it was kind of a wake up call. And I remember, kind of being shocked. And it was kind of an after hours meeting in this big Wall Street, high rise. And I remember the head of the firm, this much older guy, he walked me out to the elevator, and he could tell I was, pretty shaken up. And he said, look, I know this is, you probably think this is, the worst thing that's ever happened to you. He goes, but I'm going to tell you, I think it's going to be the best thing that ever happened to you. And with that, the elevator door opened. I got in the elevator and went downstairs. So I got in a cab and I head up to my apartment in the Village. And at the time, I was separated from my wife. We were about to get divorced. And so I gave her all the furniture. There was nothing in the apartment except a TV and a bed. It was very depressing. But before I got there, I was in the cab. And as I was riding uptown toward my apartment, I started getting pains in my chest. And I thought, and I had never had experienced anything like that. You got to remember, I was in my 30s.
Yeah.
And I went, oh my God, I'm going to have a heart attack. I'm going to die in the back of this cab. And I said, this is fucked up. I said, die by myself in the back of a cab at night in New York City. And I got pissed off. And I said, I'm never going to let this happen to me. But I had pains in my chest. Look, spoiler alert, it didn't happen, just so you know. I mean, I want to let you know. But anyway, I went up to the apartment, and there it was, this like really depressing, dark apartment with no furniture. And I'm standing there going, this is fucked up. I said, I'm out. I don't know what I'm going to do, but it's not going to be this. And that's when the whole thing started. That's when I started therapy. That's when I made the decision to leave New York. I sold everything I owned, which was considerable. I had a lot of, as they say, I might not have had a lot of cash in the bank, but I had a lot of shit.
Right.
I had apartments and a house in Connecticut. I had an airplane. I had vintage car collection. I sold everything, literally wholesaled everything. And I just moved to Colorado and started over again. That's where I met my future wife. I had a house, built a house, had a kid, blah, blah, blah.
It's amazing. You think about that stuff and you look back, it's like, there's nothing more important than your health. I mean, they always say health is wealth. I mean, in the end, it's like money and all these other things, they don't matter.